A good story has good story lines. A good solo should have good solo lines. Strong solo lines aim for a target. You might go there in a straight line, but you can also take some side steps. So why not prepare a few target solo lines to help you give your story some direction? A little preparation can go a long way, especially in your knowledge of chord progressions and awareness of the underlying logic. When you've done this a few times in a standard blues progression, you'll know where those strong solo lines are in each and every blues pattern. So let's take a funky blues in the key of E and design a simple solo line. Once we've done that, we'll start soloing and keep our eye on that line to give the solo a clear direction. These are the chords in this funky blues in E. You can also find them in the tab with this section. We're starting off with an E9th chord, then a quick change to the A6th, and then back to E9th for 2 bars. If I decide to start my solo on the top note of my E9th chord shape, I'll be targeting a B note. I can go up or down or keep the notes pedaling when the next chord arrives. Let's start off with a downward moving line. The next note on the A6th chord, when I'm moving down, is the root A, of course. And in bar 3, it's back to the E9th. And since I'm moving down and want to create a strong solo line, it's best to use a chord note as a target. Now, you don't always have to target chord tones, but they make for the most powerful solo lines. The next note down from the A on the A6th chord is the F sharp, and then the E, which is the 9th and the root of the E9th chord. On top of the E9th, we'll create a line between those 2 chord tones. We'll move down from the F sharp to the E, and then to the flatted 7th of E9th, the D note. In bar 5, it's back to the A6th chord, which has the C sharp major 3rd as a chord tone. That's going to be the next target. This is the line that we have up to now. B, A, F sharp, E, D, C sharp. And that's on the chords E9th, A6th, E9th, A6th. On the A6th, we'll move down from the C sharp, the major 3rd, to the root A, and then change direction when we arrive on the E9th in bar 7. At that point, we'll target the B note. That's the perfect 5th, and I'll insert a large jump on top of that B note, going up an octave to another B. To keep the listener on his toes, it helps not to be predictable. Solo lines that only move in one direction become boring, and it helps us throw in a large interval sometimes. So we'll jump an octave. And that's back to where we started our solo. From there, we'll create an upward moving line on the last 4 bars. Now the progression is B9th to A6th to E9th, and then ending on the B13th. The line we'll play is the B note on B9th, which is the root of the underlying chord, then up to the C sharp on the A6th chord, which is the major 3rd of A, then up to the D on E9th, which is the flatted 7th, and then to the G sharp on the B13th chord. So the complete target line becomes B to A to F sharp to E to D to C sharp to A. Then it changes direction. B up an octave, C sharp, D, D sharp. So This line will give our solo a strong direction and make it sound logical. I'll first play this line on the backing track and then use it to solo off of. After I'm done, you can take a swing at it. Now, there are literally hundreds of strong solo lines you could come up with when you're targeting notes in a simple blues progression. And because of that, this strategy never becomes boring. Make sure that you have at least a few of these under your belt when you're starting off your solos. And don't go around wail aimlessly up and down the fretboard, confined by patterns and scales and disregarding the underlying chords. Make your solo lines have a meaning. Give them a target, preferably a target line. Now, it'll take some preparation, but it'll be worth the effort.